Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty Roundtable Radio Talk Show.
Get him off the air. He's a clown. Microsoft has a warning. A Swiss bank has a warning. The Bureau of Labor Statistics wants to lie. Trump's insulting everybody on the planet. Tom Steyer, the billionaire that ran for president, wants to be governor of California. 6 Democratic lawmakers say we can't follow illegal orders. David Richardson has to bail. Kevin Hassett, he's talking about AI and entry-level jobs. It's all about the economy, stupid. A survey talking about, hey, everybody's using drugs. I'm just getting started, ladies and gentlemen. Our guests today will be Eldon Stahl with the John Birch Society, thenewamerican.com, jbs.org. We'll also be talking to Heath Perkins over at freewatercoinco.com about honest money. Second hour, we're going to double down and talk about Pete Sepp of the National Taxpayers Union. And ladies and gentlemen, this is the broadcast, Liberty Roundtable Live for November the 20th, in the year of our Lord 2025, promoting God, family, and country, protecting life, liberty, and property, and doing so in the traditions of our founding fathers, rejecting revolution unless it's Jesus' revolution. Then we're in, because we follow the Prince of Peace. All right, the Epstein files, ladies and gentlemen, everybody's all excited because it was basically a slam dunk. You had 427 members of Congress say yay. One said nay, said he voted on principle. The rest are missing in action or not filled positions. That's why there's not 435. The Senate had a unanimous, everybody's on board. Donald signed it. Everybody's for the Epstein files. And I'm telling you right now, ladies and gentlemen, when it's that overwhelming, I smell a rat. That's right, I smell a rat. I don't believe it for a second. I think everybody's aboard to give us the Epstein files because they've made so many manipulative maneuvers behind the scenes over the last several months while we've been debating it. Donald told you the Epstein files had to be released. Then he said, no, they don't. Then he said it was a clown show. Then he said it was a Republican hoax. I mean a Democratic hoax, then a Republican hoax, then oh my gosh, Republicans are bad for voting against it. I mean for it. And after the big old clown show and after they take months off to avoid the vote, to not do it, they decide they're all in. I smell a rat. I don't buy it. So I wrote 3 headlines to highlight this. Then we'll jump to Eldon Stahl and get his take. The Epstein release. More redactions than answers. They're going to tell you this is classified. This is under investigation. This is redacted. It's going to be a big old nothing burger, baby. I'm telling you right now. Epstein transparency, total scam. I don't believe there's Epstein transparency anywhere in this thing. Trump's named many, many times in the documents. Trump's known publicly for saying, grab the women by the you-know-what. Now we say, well, hey, there's big, powerful men involved, and that's all true. Who are they? Why are there no prosecutions? Why are we just releasing this and looking into this now? It all smacks of cover-up. Epstein transparency is a total scam, ladies and gentlemen. My last headline that I think takes the cake is this. Epstein files approved, redacted, sanitized, and the powerful protected while the public is betrayed. That's what I think's going on. I don't know how to mince words, but there you go. Eldon Stahl, what do you say to my summation of this thing, sir?
Well, Marjorie Taylor Greene, I think, summed it up pretty well when she said, I trust actions. I don't trust words anymore.
Yeah, amen to that.
We've had so much back and forth on this issue of releasing the files, whether or not they should, do it or what. And now it seems like, okay, it's supposed to come out, but we will see what actually comes out. There's been this history so much of obfuscation on so many different issues we could go into. and finally we had to get, for example, the president to sign a thing that said, okay, we're going to finally figure out the files on uh, President Kennedy and his assassination, or
Yeah.
Martin Luther King, or
But
whoever.
Donald could have released the Epstein files without congressional approval, right?
Well, yes. So that is an interesting little tidbit there. Like,
Yeah.
why is he not releasing
Why
them?
make Congress
I don't know.
spend all their time on this shenanigan and twist arms and this and that? I think because Donald Trump tried to browbeat the public into letting this one go, and he lost. So the cachet of MAGA, or the cachet of Donald Trump just browbeating everybody into submission for his agenda, isn't working on this one. And then he thought he might be able to, stem the tide, and it's overwhelming that the American people want this. So he finally backed off and went, fine, you can have it. But I look at this thing and I say, number one, the president could have released it without all this fanfare. Number two, I don't know if you know, but they've already released about 50,000 pages of this thing in the last month and a half while they've been debating this, right? And it's really turned out to be a nothing burger. They say, oh, Donald's mentioned a bunch of times. Jeff said Donald knew about the girls. Jeff said one of the girls was involved with Donald for hours, yet there's no woman coming forth. I mean, this is manipulated till the cows come home. Think about it. We have 50,000 pages already in a nothing burger, and now they're mandated within the next 30 days to release it all. What does all mean? All means everything they want you to have, right? And I believe the reason that Joe Biden and Donald Trump and the Republicans and the Democrats and everybody in between have been battling this thing and discussing it is I believe they've been working on the redactions. I believe they've been working on oh, this is classified. Oh, this is under investigation. They might have started some investigations behind the scenes. They might have done this and done that. But when they release 50,000 pages and there's a nothing burger, and then they say we're going to release the whole thing, and then Ghislaine Maxwell meets with them privately, then goes to a mellow prison in Texas. She plays with her puppy. She gets special meals. I mean, she's having they might bring people in to do her nails. I don't know. But she's having a fantastic time. And when all that stacks up, the Epstein release, more redactions than answers. The Epstein transparency, it's a scam. And the fact is, hey, it's been approved, redacted, sanitized. The powerful protected, the public betrayed. I mean, that's really what's going on as far as I can assess this thing, Eldon.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not getting my hopes up. Nothing of this magnitude is really going to be released, I think, without enormous public pressure, because there's just so much at stake for so many people, and they don't want the bandage torn off, and for us to see the ugliness that is there. But it
Do you
kind
think that
of,
the perp walk's going to be so big it's going to look like a Disneyland line?
I don't know. I don't know. But
No, man, that's not going to happen. You've never seen that in your whole life, and you're not about to see it now.
probably not. Probably not.
Think about it.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, that looks like a Disneyland ride. It goes around the corner and around the barn 52 times, and man, you're never going to get to the front of the perp walk line. That's the way I think it needs to go. But my real question is this. I don't care about the Epstein files released. I don't care if it blames Donald Trump. I don't care if it blames Bill Gates or whoever else. What I want to know is the pedophile ring continuing without Jeff? Has somebody else just stepped into
Yeah.
the breach to carry forward? I mean, that's what happens with a gang or a cartel
Right.
or the mafia or somebody gets knocked off or for whatever reason, somebody else just fills the void like a drug cartel or anything, right? And no
Right.
one's even talking about that reality, Eldon. Nobody, except for me,
Yeah. This is certainly something that continues unless we turn back to God. Um, we're not we're going to continue having just massive corruption of this nature, and people are of course more susceptible in public office or elsewhere to being blackmailed by honey traps and other types of things when they aren't, principled, and don't have a foundation in, eternal truths. So, it's kind of there's a larger picture here.
Amen to that. And the larger picture really relates to, do they want free speech? You know, MAGA and the Republicans have made you believe they're the free speech guys, that the Democrats are all anti-speech and everything else. But Donald right now howling, get the bum off the air. Trump demands Jimmy Kimmel be yanked from TV after the late night host mocks Donald in his monologue. Donald has publicly demanded that Jimmy Kimmel's TV show be canceled, immediately calling the late night host talentless and accusing his network of biased coverage. But here's the deal. No offense, Donald. I don't like Jimmy Kimmel either personally, but whether he has talent or not doesn't mean he should leave. The people can decide if he has talent, right? The other issue is, does he have every right to his own free speech? That a man follows Kimmel's monologue, basically tracking Trump's poll numbers, business dealings, and alleged connections to Epstein. Let's talk about it in seconds on TV, shall we?
Why don't we say to the government writ large that they have to spend a little bit less? Anybody ever had less money this year than you had last? Anybody ever having a 1% pay cut? You deal with it. That's what government needs, a 1% pay cut. If you take a 1% pay cut across the board, you have more than enough money to actually pay for the disaster relief. But nobody's going to do that because they're fiscally irresponsible. Who are they? Republicans. Who are they? Democrats. Who are they? Virtually the whole body is careless and reckless with your money. So the money will not be offset by cuts anywhere. The money will be added to the debt, and there will be a day of reckoning. What's the day of reckoning? The day of reckoning may well be the collapse of the stock market. The day of reckoning may be the collapse of the dollar. When it comes, I can't tell you exactly, but I can tell you it has happened repeatedly in history when countries ruin their currency.
Get ready to be part of something incredible. We're breaking barriers and delivering the powerful stories that mainstream media won't touch. Your support is what fuels our mission to revolutionize journalism and bring you the truth. Join our passionate community of changemakers by donating at libertynewsradio.com today. Together, we're creating the future of news.
Do you know what is great about America? Ask an Immigrant. Ask an Immigrant is a new podcast dedicated to helping Americans, especially our youth, value, appreciate, and be grateful for the freedoms we have here in America. Join host Lydia Wallace-Nuttall as she interviews immigrants from around the world to discover their inspiring personal stories about why they came to America. To learn more about why America is the most prosperous, greatest country in the world, download the Loving Liberty app or go to lovingliberty.net.
So Donald posted on Truth Social, why does ABC News keep Jimmy Kimmel? A man with no talent and very poor television ratings. Get rid of the bum. Get the bum off the air, he says. And my response to Donald is severalfold. Number one, it isn't a debate whether you think he's talented or not, Donald. I know you think that your view is the telltale reality, but a lot of people think he is quite talented. I personally think he has plenty of talent. I just think he has not a clue about the supreme law of our land, the history of the founding fathers, and he has no respect for those things. That's my opinion. But he has every right to his own views. ABC has every right to syndicate him. He has every right to mock in the monologue your views, your stance, Donald. That's free speech. That's America. That's calling to account. The question is, can you handle the healthy debate and discussion? And here's the real question for you, Eldon Stahl, because I'm now fairly criticizing Donald, saying, hey, I think this Epstein release is a clown show. I think it's a total scam. And now I'm saying, hey, Donald, quit attacking Jimmy. Just because you're mad because he's criticizing you, Donald, is that a reason to take him off the air? They're saying ABC's license should be yanked. Now it's a different discussion because ABC has been dishonest and they've had to pay out some cash for libel and slander and all that. That's a different discussion in my mind, though, from the discussion that needs to be had about his free speech rights, right? I mean, we need to learn to separate these details is why I spend time on this.
Well, when we're looking at what's commonly called free speech, the spirit of the First Amendment really in modern times would be called freedom of communication, the freedom of the ability to communicate our thoughts with others. And of course, that would include using different forms of technology to do so, like we're doing today, right? Now, of course, when you get into, say, you're having a show on TV, that is also a business. That's you stay on air when you have enough people that appreciate what you do as far as putting out content and ideas that they're willing to pay, and you're willing to, and sponsors are willing to buy ads and put it on there and just make it, financially viable to continue with that.
Well, if it's
So,
financially viable and if they can get a crowd and they can justify it, then that's what I mean. Who's the president to say, hey, he has no talent and he's worthless? Obviously, and if advertisers and viewers think so, to make it viable. And I don't like Jimmy Kimmel's personal attitude and beliefs and everything else, but he probably doesn't like mine. Well, both
probably
of us
not.
have a healthy
Yeah.
criticism of
Okay.
President Trump. I just criticize Trump when it makes sense, and I promote Trump when it makes sense. So you got the Trump lovers, the Trump haters, then you got the Trump realists like me. But I think there's room for all the voices in America, and the American people can decide. Eldon?
Oh yeah, yeah. Certainly, they can decide. And as far as whether it stays on air, the thing is, we've gotten into where the federal government has decided that the First Amendment only applies to basically your ability to speak, and doesn't apply to your ability to communicate. So now we have this big bureaucracy called the Federal Communications Commission that effectively gets to decide whether people get to exercise their ability to communicate through various technological means. Now, some of those you might say they'd be justified when you, of course, talk about libel and slander. But when we're talking about, say, the president threatening to yank somebody's license, well, okay, what legitimate reason would there possibly be for saying that they cannot broadcast?
Well, Trump would say
Just
because
because you
they've
disagree
libeled
with
and
somebody.
slandered and been sued and they lost the lawsuit. Therefore, hey, they've gone too far.
I don't know that has anything to do with Jimmy Kimmel's show, though. That's maybe another
Well,
matter.
yeah, and that's the problem that I'm
Maybe
having. We got to separate free speech from criminal activity. If you libel and slander somebody, there's courts to deal with that. Okay,
Sure.
And if you have repeated offenses, but at what point do you say should the government even be licensing TV, radio, and broadcasts and everything else anyway? See, I don't know that the government has any authority to license all that in the first place.
Well, yeah, if you look at the Constitution, there's really nothing in there about that as far as the federal government's role. I think there could be certainly interstate compact that could govern something like that rather than creating a federal bureaucracy which decides all these different details on whether or not you can.
Well, under state by state in a contract
airwaves.
as you're proposing, you could have a level playing field created by that organization, and then you could have private entities administer to that level playing field, and you wouldn't need the federal government involved at all.
Right.
But we digress. The whole point that I'm making is that, hey, they're mad at Jimmy Kimmel now. Hopefully he'll, I don't want him to get fired. Not because I think he has a great show. I think he's paid way too much, and I think they'll see the error of their ways based on the new media taking center stage and the market changing in the first place. So I'm not too worried about that because I think these overpaid talk show hosts that are paid $5, $10, $15, $20, $30, $40 million a year, that's going away because there's too many good, talented people for way less money on the airwaves. And so I think that'll take care of itself in time. But I'm really concerned when the President of the United States says, I want to get this person fired because, you know what? He mocked me in the monologue.
He made fun of me.
He made fun of me. Okay. That's Donald throwing his sucker in the dirt, and it's got to stop. And here's the next question then. Am I MAGA? Well, I don't know. I want to make America great again, of course. I want to make every country great again. But I never voted for Donald. I promote Donald when he does right and good, and I tell people why I stand against him when he does bad. I'm saying using your authority to fire Jimmy Kimmel is like throwing your sucker in the dirt. Don't be a little baby, Donald. Why don't you take a page out of the call for civility plan? And why don't you just say, Jimmy, why don't we sit down and talk about it, buddy? Why doesn't Jimmy and Donald sit down and have an honest, transparent discussion about it? What do you think of that idea?
Oh, I think they could. That would be very, hopefully productive. I think his ratings would go up too if he had Donald on his show. But people would kind of freak out too, I suppose, some of the fans. But, other hosts have done
I'm just saying I'm a guy
things.
that thinks talking is a good thing. I think the more they talk, the more they might develop a little bit of common ground, a little bit of respect. Donald loves The Apprentice and loves the reality TV shows and loves to mock people himself. He has a problem when somebody else is decently good at it.
Yeah.
What gives? Anyway, I don't mean to beat this thing to death. I just really think it's a free speech question. And here's the real point. How long will it be till Donald's now attacking me because I'm criticizing his response to this? I'm not trying to criticize Donald's response to this to attack Donald. I'm trying to protect free speech and say there's a line there, people. Be very careful because the slope is very slippery indeed. So my discussions aren't really even to attack Donald. My discussions are broader because when Donald goes away, the next guy will want to take away my speech, just like Donald wants to take away Jimmy's speech. And I'm telling you right now, that sword cuts both ways. And that's why I'm speaking out. It's not really an attack against Donald at all. It's just that Donald's kind of on the wrong side of the issue is the problem.
Yeah, I would agree. And anybody, I suppose, that wants to dig deeper into this, I'll put a plug in for a free online video series on the Bill of Rights. We got on jbs.org. You can just go to jbs.org, find the Bill of Rights series, and that's great overview. Really, it's about the spirit of the Bill of Rights. And
that's exactly right. And that's why I'm kind of speaking out that I am. I'm really speaking in defense of the Bill of Rights. Let me give you another quick example. Donald Trump insulted an ABC News reporter, a journalist, if you will. Mary Bruce is her name. During a meeting in the Oval Office with this Saudi crown prince or whatever you call this guy, because she brought up the murder of this journalist, Jamal Khashoggi, is that how you say it? Anyway, she said that, or Donald Trump said it was a horrible, insubordinate, and terrible question. I think she has every right to ask that question. And I think when we bring people to the White House, you can't ignore these issues. He also made derogatory comments about her employer, suggesting ABC's license should be revoked. On Air Force One, Trump referred to another Bloomberg news reporter. Her name is Catherine Lucey. He said to her, "Quiet, piggy. Be quiet." Now, the National Press Club denounced Trump's attitude about this. This is what I mean, though. I appreciate Trump being very critical of when the mainstream press lies. And I support those views. But when you go over the line and shut people down for honest questions, everybody wants to know, hey, this journalist was murdered. And they say this leader had something to do with it. We all just want the truth. It isn't a Republican, a Democrat, a liberal, a conservative. It's an honest, open, appropriate journalistic question to ask about those things. Eldon?
Yeah, I think it is, even though, okay, that may have been something you might say embarrassing to the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. However, you might remember when Donald Trump played a video in front of the president of South Africa that was a bit embarrassing not too long ago.
Well, and it's equivalent. And I'm saying journalists are supposed to ask those kind of questions. And
Sure.
if you want to head off those kind of questions in advance, you're free to, issue a public statement on the topic. You're free to prep your, foreign dignitaries and say, hey, these things might come up. Even if it's completely off the cuff, why don't you just let the leader respond?
Yeah, right.
And then say, in America, we have journalists and we have freedom of speech and freedom of association. I know it's different in your country, and I don't really like what the journalist did, sir, but I also respect their right to do it. Am I making any sense? I hope so, ladies and gentlemen. Eldon Stahl, Sam Bushman, you're watching Liberty Roundtable Live.
Proclaiming liberty across the land. You're listening to Liberty News Radio.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. Wall Street flying high this morning, given a boost by the just-released September jobs report. Employers created at least twice as many jobs, 119,000, as economists had been expecting. The unemployment rate ticked up a notch from August to 4.4%. Financial markets also cheering NVIDIA's stellar third-quarter results. The clock is ticking for the Justice Department to release all Jeffrey Epstein-related files. Now that President Trump has signed the Epstein Transparency Bill, it gives the Justice Department a month to release the documents, except for those that would jeopardize any ongoing investigations. President Trump makes the case for allowing highly skilled foreign workers into the country under the H-1B visa program.
We're not going to be successful if we don't allow people that invest billions of dollars in plant and equipment to bring a lot of their people from their country to get that plant open, operating, and working. I'm sorry.
The president contends the U.S. simply does not have qualified workers for certain positions. Reports of a new proposal for ending the war in Ukraine has some high-ranking U.S. military officials traveling to the embattled country.
The proposal would reportedly require Ukraine to make sweeping concessions, including surrendering the Donbas region and limiting the size of its military. Moscow has made these demands before, and they are seen by Kyiv as capitulation. The U.S. State Department would not comment on the reports, and the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, has not directly addressed them, but in a social media post wrote of the need for an exchange of realistic ideas and concessions from both sides.
The BBC's Tom Bateman. On Wall Street, stocks are sharply higher. The Dow is up 661 points. The Nasdaq ahead 565. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm, and Chuck McDowell definitely not an attorney. This is Chuck. If someone talked you into buying something really silly and you want to get out of that silly little thing, my advice is get the facts. Call me and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit absolutely free. Inside, you'll learn how timeshare works and all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free exit info kit. 800-762-6565. That's 800-762-6565.
Hey, I'm Mike Slater. My dad passed away at the age of 63. It's out of nowhere. Had a stroke. Super hard, obviously, for the whole family, but my dad had life insurance. This is why I have life insurance for my family, for my wife and 4 kids. And the best place to get life insurance is ethos.com, because you can do it in 10 minutes. And there's no medical exam and no blood test, just a few health questions. Get life insurance in 10 minutes so your family is protected. Ethos, E-T-H-O-S, ethos.com/Mike.
In the medical field, IT security is crucial. Our highly skilled consultants are HIPAA certified and have 20-plus years of experience servicing medical clinics, billing, and supply companies. We offer comprehensive endpoint protection, guarding your computers and servers against all stages of threats. And with our 24/7 monitoring services, you'll never worry about extensive downtime again. Ready to level up your IT support? Call 801-706-6980 today and discover how great IT services can be with managed IT services.
Experience the untamed spirit of the American West with Range Magazine. Each issue is a visual journey featuring award-winning photography and compelling stories that capture the heart of ranching and rural life. Stay informed on the challenges and triumphs of those who live and work on the land. Subscribe today and receive quarterly editions delivered to your doorstep, and join a community that cherishes the enduring legacy of the Western frontier. Visit rangemagazine.com to subscribe.
Attention collectors and savvy investors. We are excited to announce a momentous evolution in our journey. Introducing Free Water Coin Company, formerly known as Rust Coin and Gift. This rebranding takes us back to the very roots of where it all began. Free Water, Oregon. It's a tribute to the legacy of Al Rust and a celebration of 3 generations of dedication to excellence in the world of coins and precious gifts. Al, Brian, and Jake Rust standing strong through 64 years of service. Discover a world of exceptional service at Free Water Coin Company, your premier destination for genuine, honest money and precious gifts. Under Brian's expert guidance, Free Water Coin Company, building on the legacy of Rust Coin and Gift, continues its tradition of trust and excellence. Visit us at our Provo, Utah location. Explore our treasures online at freewatercoinco.com or call us at 801-377-1574. Free Water Coin Company, where your future is built one honest coin at a time.
All right, back with you live, ladies and gentlemen. So much news, it's hard to even handle. Anyway, I don't mean to attack Donald Trump, folks. And I know he can't handle attacks. He can attack people, but when people attack him, he kind of melts down. That's a tragic reality. And I know Trump wants loyalty. And I think the president of the United States deserves loyalty. The problem is he's got to understand you can't just demand loyalty, but not give loyalty. And when somebody like me, criticizes these things, it's not to attack the president of the United States by any means. It is, to be honest, my goal to defend free speech, defend free association. All right. For example, hey, why do you have that, Bloomberg News reporter on Air Force One with you at all? Her name is Catherine Lucey. And then this other one, Mary Bruce. Okay, why do you have these people from ABC News and from Bloomberg on Air Force One? Why don't you have a representative of Loving Liberty Networks on Air Force One, Donald? You might get a little bit more fair treatment. You also might get private discussions about some of these concerns we have. Like, President, you shouldn't be attacking Jimmy like that. It just makes you look like a free speech Nazi. Okay, don't do it. Just come out with a healthy response. Come out with a civility type clarion call and say, Jimmy, I don't really like you mocking the president of the United States over some of these things. Why don't we sit down and have a truth serum discussion about what's really going on in the country? Because I think you might be confused about some of our policies, some of our initiatives, some of our actions. And so, Jimmy, let's sit down and take off your comedian hat for a second and do it. And I'm also going to acknowledge, as president of the United States, that sometimes the comedian hat's funny. Even though it might not be too flattering to me, because they mock my hair and they mock my accent and deliver, hey, that's not fun for me, but I can take it. I'm a big boy. At the same time, let's get a few of these reality checks straight and openly discuss some of these issues. And so, I would be advising Donald Trump on Air Force One, some of those things. I would bring up the Donald, we really want to ask about this question, right? We want to ask some questions about this leader and what happened with some of this. And you need to be open enough in the world to allow that to happen. Don't just run interference, because it makes you all look guilty when you do that. Okay, Donald? Don't run interference. Let the negotiations and the discussions happen. Don't say the license should be revoked. Okay? There's this murder that was very high profile at the time. Jamal Khashoggi, or however you say it, okay? And it was a very weird, strange murder. So when we ask this Prince Mohammed bin Salman, or whatever it is, this question, you're going to have to understand that's the American way, President Trump. I know you've been elite, and you don't like that. But this scrutiny is a First Amendment right. This scrutiny is what journalism is supposed to be. Just because it crosses something that you don't personally enjoy this time, you got to step back, brother, and respect the system. What about quiet, off the record, appropriate counsel to the president of the United States? See, I'm an unofficial Trump advisor, Eldon, and so that's why I'm going off on this. Your thoughts, though? Am I making any sense?
Yes, and I think he needs some better advisors than he has right now. Unfortunately, he seems to be going off on things that really are alienating the people that got him into office. Now, he is a lame duck, and I know a lot of lame ducks, they tend to not care about getting reelected and being loyal to their base, but This is not going to be positive for him if he wants to continue policies in a similar direction in the future through other people. It's not going to be. So I don't know. There is a saying that in politics, nothing happens by accident. If it happens, you can bet it was planned that way. So,
and that's why I'm telling you this release of the Epstein files, when it's such overwhelming slam dunk, they're trying to get the people off the trail on this baby. Guaranteed.
Yeah, that may well be. That may well be. It's a real hot potato type of thing. Who wants to
what do you think the likelihood, though, that the 435 in the House and the 100 in the Senate, the President of the United States, what do you think the odds are that they really want the candid truth?
Well, some people do. But unfortunately, there is an element that does not for various reasons. Some are compromised. Some are morally compromised as well.
That's for
sure. And of course, there's a wide variety of opinions on so many things. There's people that just want to use this for political purposes, of course, which is
for political gain, etc. Who do you think wants the truth? Besides me and you, of course.
Well, I think Marjorie Taylor Greene, Thomas Massey, they seem to me to be sincere in their desire to get truth out of this.
I agree 100%, and they're the ones being attacked relentlessly.
Yeah. Right.
See, that's kind of my point, is that, folks, you've got to call this for what it is and be realistic about it. You really, really do. All right. Microsoft has issued a warning that I wanted to bring up here. They say that its experimental AI services in Windows 11 could potentially download and install malware. This is Jack Phillips over at the Epoch Times with this one. This alert was issued on November 17th, 2025, and the AI described as agentic. And agentic is a term that derives from agent. So when an agent is used, it faces security risks due to this capacity to receive, quote, prompt injections that mislead the AI into executing unintended actions. I'll put that in English. You have this computer software program that does things by itself. It's an agent. You tell it what to do and it goes out and does things. The problem is, if you know what to do and know what to inject into it, you can get it to do things that it wasn't intended to do. The company has emphasized that the AI settings in Windows 11 are disabled by default. That's good. And it requires administrator authorization to make it, happen. Once activated, though, these agentic AI features can interact with files, applications, etc., in a distinct workspace. They call it the agent workspace, but anyway, it can be compromised. And so they're kind of saying be very, very careful. AI is in a very precarious position right now. One, everybody's rolled it out so quickly that a lot of the bugs, a lot of the security hasn't been, locked down yet. Everybody's going so psychotic about how it's going to change the world that everybody's, pardon the pun, jumping the gun. We got to be really, really careful about this one. I think AI is a good thing, but many are saying we're on the cusp of an AI bubble, and if it bursts, we're in trouble too. Kind of like the housing bubble of 2008, 2007 kind of range. Do you think we're on an AI bubble of epic proportions, Eldon?
It could be. Another bubble you might recall is the .com bubble. For a while, in about 2000, roughly, there were a lot of people thinking, well, yeah, just start a website and you can just roll in the dough. They found out, many of them, that it's really not that simple, but there were a few savvy people that were able to make good money off of the .com type of thing. AI is a new frontier in a lot of ways. It's coming out for the masses right now. It's not like it's totally new, but people are able to go and use it for various things, which are actually quite useful, saving time. But it is a tool. So learning how to use that tool, learning the dangers of it, it's still difficult to learn the dangers and establish adequate security for the internet, even though and that's changing so quickly itself. And now we've got AI, which is probably changing more quickly than the internet. So we've got kind of compounded challenges there. But
where do you think we go? Where do you think we go from here to prevent the bubble? I mean, everybody wants to use AI. It's not going to go away, but how do we prevent the bubble? And I've got some ideas. Your thoughts first?
That's a really good question. I'm not sure that I have much much insight on that. I wish I did, but I'm curious to hear what you think.
Yeah, here's my opinion. So Microsoft issued a warning that its experimental AI services in Windows 11 it can be a problem, can be hacked or whatever. I think that you ought to use statements like that, news articles like that. This alert was issued literally a day or two ago, I guess on November 17th, so 3 days ago. And I'm saying I think there's a way to use these warnings to cool the market by education. I'll talk about that in seconds. You're watching and listening to Liberty Roundtable Live. Eldon, Stahl, JBS.org, and yours truly, LovingLiberty.net. Continue in seconds.
Are you ready to stand up for your community and support your local sheriff? Join the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association and become a vital member of the Sheriff's Citizens Posse. At cspoa.org, we empower citizens like you through weekly webinars, arming you with the knowledge to back your constitutional county sheriff. Together, we can uphold our Constitution and ensure liberty and justice for all. Your community needs you now more than ever.
This is a battle between truth and deceit. A battle between forces that would enslave this country in darkness and between a media that wants to present you with the truth. We are being censored. America's news outlets no longer provide the truth. 90% of news outlets in the United States are controlled by 6 corporations. The mission of the Epoch Times is to chase the truth, to ground all statements in fact.
TheEpochTimes.com.
You know where the solution can be found, Mr. President? In churches, in wedding chapels, in maternity wards across the country and around the world. More babies will mean forward-looking adults, the sort we need to tackle long-term, large-scale problems. American babies in particular are likely going to be wealthier, better educated, and more conservation-minded than children raised in still industrializing countries. As economist Tyler Cowen recently wrote, quote, "By having more children, you're making your nation more populous, thus boosting its capacity to solve climate change. The planet does not need for us to think globally and act locally so much as it needs us to think family and act personally. The solution to so many of our problems, at all times and in all places, is to fall in love, get married, and have some kids."
All right, so Microsoft said, hey, man, we got this agentic or agent version of Windows 11 AI that can go south and get hacked and everything, and you got to be really careful. I think what we do is we take the opportunity to use those kinds of things and educate the public. You could have IT people from Network Providers, Inc., Sam Bushman, well-known IT consultant here, telling you, hey, AI is wonderful, people. Don't get me wrong. AI is incredible, and it's going to change the world. But, you know, I always joke and say don't dip your toe in the crypto because you can get burned. I want to say that with IT. I want to say that with the dot-com bust. I want to say that with housing, too. You've got to back off and let the markets evolve as they do. Everybody shouldn't jump into and depend on AI so much that you can't survive or function without it. You need to set up backup plans when AI is not available. Okay, just think about your cash register at your gas station or your grocery store or wherever. When the power goes out, you've got, you know, people that run the cash registers there that don't even know how to count out change. They literally can't open their cash registers because there's no electricity. They literally can't do any business. You need to realize that AI is like that on steroids. The more it gets control of your business, the easier it will be for, if it's not available, to cause a problem. So I was working on a project over the weekend to make the point, and Cloudflare was having a problem. So therefore, ChatGPT was having a problem. And I had ChatGPT write about 10 versions of an article and some things that I was working on, a letter. And then all of a sudden, ChatGPT went out in the weeds. And it started going backwards, and it started getting confused, and it started having segment fragments and confusion. And I didn't save the latest great version. Why? Because I just thought, well, I'm almost done. Let me finish. Well, the end of the day, what happened was ChatGPT went out in the weeds. ChatGPT first said it didn't have a problem, and then when I proved that it did, it went, oh, you're right. Yes, I'm having a problem. Yes, this is all due to this outage and everything else. Hopefully, I'll be back online and able to help you soon. I eventually had to just rewrite the whole thing all by myself and start over. And so I think consultants and educated people, professionals in given areas, can educate and slow this down and say, listen, Windows 11 cranking up AI, that's neat. It should be experimental. But be very careful because it faces security risks and it will affect your businesses. And I think that you could use education. And I think in most cases, education can change the game for a lot of these discussions, Eldon. Whether it be the housing market, the .com market. Just imagine the professionals would have warned about the .com market saying this thing's heating up way too fast. This thing, okay, and AI is like that. You're going to have power outages if we crank up AI power generation so fast. Pretty soon you're going to be able to get on ChatGPT, but you won't be able to grow your crops. Pretty soon you'll be able to, you won't be able to cool your house or heat your house, but you'll be able to get on ChatGPT. It's like I used to joke when they said we're going to use corn for fuel. I'm like, yeah, you'll drive around hungry. It won't be fantastic at all. Okay, we can warn and educate, and I think the court of public opinion, if done correctly, can really change the markets, can really cool the markets and say, hey, AI is wonderful, guys, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. It's only 3 years old. In 22, ChatGPT came out with this big thing. It changed the world. I get it. And I don't have any problem using it. I'm not an AI hater or against it or telling you the sky is falling like Chicken Little. But I am telling you that we need to think about this in a logical, prepared way and move into AI slowly but surely. Find out where it's beneficial, where it's not. And I've actually written plans for IT companies or as an IT consultant for companies to help them embrace this in a productive but not catastrophic way where a bubble's going to hit and cause massive problems. But in the .com bust that you referred to, thousands, millions of dollars was lost. Productivity was destroyed. Companies failed. Bankruptcies were everywhere. We could prevent that if we really think through some of this stuff. By the way, now there's a report to bring up the same topic in a way. It's called UBS Bank. It's a Swiss bank. And they suggest that there's a global housing bubble. They say it's not totally like 2007, 2008 overall. It's not as bad, but there are markets that are of big concern. And they point to LA. Let's see. They point to LA. They point to Miami. They point to San Francisco, New York, Dallas, London, all kinds of these places. And they're just like, hey, it's overbuilt. Not in terms of enough housing, but in terms of there's not enough housing. And since it's overbuilt, meaning that houses are too big for people to afford, and since it's overbuilt in the terms that there's a lot of houses available, nobody can afford them. It's an affordability crisis is what it is. So now they're giving the warnings on that. Well, these builders are primarily responsible because what they do is they come into an area, they build a subdivision, then they work on their next subdivision, and every time they ratchet up the pricing. And they're leading this market. Then you get these investors that come in and buy houses hoping for big rents and everything else. And what you've got is an upside down manipulated market till the cows come home. And so somebody in real estate, somebody in the mortgage broker industry, by the way, I used to be a mortgage broker and insurance licensed, somebody needs to cool that market with common sense and come on the TV and say, hey, man, listen, guys, I know you think this is incredible and we're just going to ratchet prices up year over year, day after day, subdivision after subdivision, or AI service after AI service or whatever. But you got to cool it, folks, because you're going to destroy the market in your exuberance. And I think real good educated professionals could change that game just by educating public opinion. What do you think, Eldon?
Well, there's a lot to go into the housing market. Overall, there's consistently, whether you get into, say, working with the agents or the lenders or even government, there, with the exception of, say, somebody's trying to be an investment, there's upward pressure on prices. And also on sellers, they want to sell for higher amounts and all that. Of course, that's understandable. However, the way the tax structures are set with property tax, of course, the counties and cities and whoever receives property tax is going to benefit by because the taxes are based upon the market value of the real estate. And when it goes up, then the government entities get more in tax money, regardless of whether they actually do more. That works well for the governments, of course, but
see, I don't think so. I think it works well for the government if you just look at a short-term slice of the pie. But look, when government takes more money than it ought, when prices are overly stated, when nobody wins in the long run, Eldon. Nobody wins. You can pretend some sector wins for a short time, but if you don't create a win-win-win situation, in other words, if you don't, in business, if you always look for number one and take advantage of other people, eventually it will backfire. Eventually it will destroy. Eventually it will implode. Sure. The only real way forward is an honest, appropriate deal where everybody wins.
Yeah, I would agree.
The only real economic way forward that makes sense. That's what the free market, that's what the capitalism is based on. Naked capitalism is a problem, but honest, appropriate, moral-based capitalism is the unsung hero the world's seen from American history, but rarely practiced.
Yeah, you're right. It's there have been many deviations from the principle of free market in our country's history, and the housing market might be a good example of that. There's been many interventions from the federal government and from other entities that just want to treat it as a cash cow or a big ATM. And so, you've got the consumer kind of stuck in the middle of all that, where we end up being essentially enslaved or kind of a feudalistic type of a situation with regard to our housing, rather than, even the pioneers, even though they built modest houses themselves, it was their own house. They weren't working forever for that house or that land. It would be much better, I think, of course, if people had more modest houses. But it's always nice to have a bigger house or whatever. But the thing is, it's kind of like a car. You might say, well, I'm driving around in this fancy dancy expensive car. But for a lot of those people, unfortunately, they don't own the car. They're financing it and they're paying through the nose for it, just so they can maybe, look nice. But I'm certainly happy for people that earned that car and they own it free and clear. That's a wonderful
for sure.
thing.
And that's why I say we've got to cool this off, though. Americans need to realize that their lifestyles aren't sustainable. I mean, we've talked about refrigerators, for example, and the refrigerators that came out in like 1928, I think is when the refrigerator came out, and they were pretty small. Now they're way efficient and huge. How big of a fridge do you really need? Okay, same with your house. The average house was around, I think, 1,000 square feet in the 70s, 1,500 a little later. Now it's like 2,600 square feet or something. Do we really need that much house? We have less people in the house and double and triple the house size. And then we say we got to have AC to cool it, and we got to have heating to heat it, and we've got to have, killer internet to ran to it. We gotta. And at some point, I'm saying, folks, we got to cool off and settle down a little bit there, Sonny. You can't pretend that your lifestyle in modern times with 5 TVs and 26 cell phones and whatever you got going on, massive freezers and fridges, and And you can't just act like, oh, man, I can't keep up with the lifestyles of my ancestors. You can't, one, from a dollar's point of view, but two, from an expectation, your footprint point of view. And I'm not an environmentalist. I'm just pointing out the truth. All right, Eldon Stahl with me, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching Liberty Roundtable Live, syndicated by the Loving Liberty Networks, lovingliberty.net. Spread the word, share the love, and God save the Republic of the United States of America.